Okay guys, you find ourselves inside of the Mazda CX-90 plug-in hybrid now, and let's take a quick tour on the exterior if you haven't checked out my full review. Just real quick, it's actually on right now. It's in EV mode, so that's probably why you can't hear anything. We have this full, really nice new shade of rhodium premium white metallic, I believe it's called. It's their new like multi-layered premium paint that Mazda's doing. It looks really nice in the sunshine. Of course we have the top spec version of the plug-in hybrid, the premium plus package, so we're getting all of the nice stuff like the nicer wheels, a lot more luxury and tech inside. Though if you do get the inline 6, you can get even more stuff and even nicer headlights and taillights and all of the fun stuff. But for now, this is what we're getting, and I think this looks pretty gorgeous actually in this color. Has a really luxurious and stately appearance to it, I think, in person. Really nice design, really big wheels as well on this premium plus package with this kind of machine finish, LED lights, cool plug-in hybrid little accent right there. I'll say inline 6 if you got the 6-cylinder. The Mazda script spelled out. Rear end's a little bit controversial with this hump, though. Mazda did this to kind of increase the third row headroom, legroom, and space, as well as cargo room. And it does actually work. And I think it's actually kind of grown on me a lot over time. eSky Active plug-in hybrid there. You can see the new badging. And it's a pretty nice and spacious interior as well. But let's hop inside and take this thing for a drive, because that is what we are here to do. Getting inside's pretty easy. Nice solid thunk on the doors as well. And we have this really wonderful cabin in here. The material quality, everything here is fantastic, but all that is for my full review. Let's take this thing on a drive. So the CX-90 is on now, and putting it into gear with our 8-speed multi-clutch transmission here is super simple with this very cool floating style gear select. It feels very premium, very nice to rest your hand on it as well. Leather wrapped with feels like metal or plastic around it, really nice. Popping it to gear, we do have reversing cameras, which are absolutely fantastic, very clear. You have trajectory and parking sensors. You can hear there's a beeping in the distance on the exterior because this is in electric mode. It needs to have a sound to alert pedestrians. You have different modes. You can change like the stereo view as well. Very nice camera system. I actually quite like that. Pop it back into drive. And you also have a quick access control for your camera system that you can always turn it on if you want to see like your side stuff as well. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Let's check out a turning radius real quick here before we head out onto the road. You can see we are in normal mode right now, and you have an EV priority mode, so if you want to have it in EV mode, you can always have it start in that, so it's quiet. Turning radius, it's a big 200-inch long vehicle, so I'm gonna give it a pass on that, but otherwise it's decent. Steering is very heavy and weighted and very connected. It is light generally around town, though when you really feel that connection in this variable ratio when you're in a corner or kind of driving a little bit harder. It really comes into play, and you can have a very nice and confident control of the vehicle. It almost feels like BMW's newer steering systems, where that weight is kind of added in, that more natural feeling weight. Though you do have a lot of connection with the road, and that's kind of Mazda's whole philosophy with their driving experiences on vehicles. It's kind of like that horse and carriage rider as one. And I do get that sense here just a little bit. It's a little bit more, I think, diluted than in their kind of smaller vehicles, because this is a massive 8-passenger crossover SUV, though you do still have that Mazda driving characteristics in here. And going around some harder corners, and yes, it's a big SUV, you really can feel how controlled and balanced this body is, so we'll get to that in a second. In here, I really do love this cabin. This is a darker theme. You can get lighter colors in here as well. I will say, though, that the material quality, like I said, is fantastic. And I really do like these new digital gauges that Mazda is doing. Really high quality, great contrast with the blacks and the graphics on the screen. As that also goes for this infotainment display up here, which is also a touchscreen in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto mode. Otherwise, when you're in the Mazda its own interface, you can only use the scroll wheel, which is completely fine. I think that's honestly the safer and more intuitive way to be going about this. And look, we're just driving around town, cruising in EV mode. It's super quiet, refined, and a really smooth driving experience. And now I do have to say, this big panoramic roof really does let in a lot of nice light, so you never feel cramped in here. Lots of headroom. You can see when you step on it in normal mode, the gas engine kicks on. You see EV boost. So when it says boost mode, that means that you're getting that full combined output of the powertrain, which is a really nice feature there. We do have to go this way. Almost forgot. So you're getting that full 323-ish horsepower, and an incredible 360-ish pound-feet of torque, which is really, really nice. And all of that torque is going to come on, or most of it is going to come on really early, thanks to that electric motor, which is a pretty potent electric motor as well. And you know, that gas engine, we have a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. It is making that much power. It's under 200 horsepower. So is the electric motor, just under 200 horsepower, but combined is where you're getting all that oomph on there, which I think is really fantastic. Otherwise, this is a really comfortable vehicle to drive around town. I guess I will notice it's really bright outside. You can see the sun's reflecting on some of these trim pieces, though they do look very premium. This digital cluster is really fantastic, like I also mentioned before. Instant oomph that you want, versus the inline 6, which is only, of course, a turbocharged inline 6 with a mild hybrid powertrain, which that mild hybrid system isn't offering power for you. And I have to say, this thing always has been felt really, really quick and responsive. And Mazda emphasized that when they were developing this powertrain and this platform, is that their philosophy is that they always wanted you to have that ability to have that power on tap, regardless of what mode you're in, regardless of kind of what rev range or how, if you're in EV mode or only in like charging up the battery. If you kind of step on it, you'll have that power and that responsiveness right there for you, so you never really feel like you're lagging behind, or you feel like you have to like downshift or something to get up to gear or get up to speed. So I do appreciate that in the new CX-90. And for a vehicle that is this size, it handles itself very well. Now let's talk about the suspension real quick. So this is a static suspension. There's no kind of active suspension dynamics going on here, and it is definitely on the firmer side. This year I've driven the Honda Pilot as well as the Kia Telluride, and while the Honda Pilot is a good kind of all-round, just general mainstream driving vehicle, it doesn't have any kind of handling prowess to it. It just feels solid, very light steering, floaty suspension. The Kia Telluride drove awfully. I won't lie, it was terrible. It's just, I call it an appliance because that's how I think of it. This is for someone who likes to drive a vehicle. And I think Mazda made the suspension stiffer in that sense to have better body control. And I will say that the dampening itself is good, but you do feel and notice where a bump or an imperfection in the road is, and you can tell on each individual wheel. And I think Mazda did that intentionally. I don't think it was like an afterthought or a mistake there. They want you to know what's happening around the chassis of the vehicle, so you can have to make a correction if you have to, and you know what's happening, you can expect what's happening. So I'm going to give it to Mazda on that credit. I don't find it uncomfortable or annoying whatsoever. Personally, I guess if some people want that more luxurious, softer ride, go for a different vehicle. This isn't for you. There's a reason why Mazda went for this rear-wheel drive architecture. They wanted it for driving performance. They specifically even hampered a little bit of like cargo room and stuff for that reason. So this is this vehicle has a purpose, and if you're not into that, this vehicle may not be for you. And this 4-cylinder isn't the most charismatic sounding engine. I would definitely go for the inline 6 if you want a better sounding CX-90, but it gets the job done really well. Now I'm going to pop it back into normal mode for a second for you guys, and I'm going to address a little bit some of the complaints that some people are having with this vehicle. And the real complaints aren't to do with the vehicle or reliability issues or anything. It's with, I think, this gearbox. So how this works is that you have the engine inline, and you have an electric motor connected in between the gearbox and the engine, and they're all sending out to the rear wheels as well as to the front wheels when the front wheels need power. Now, on some occasions, and I have actually experienced this, there is some kind of like stuttering or a little bit of like lag going on with this powertrain. And I think it's just because it's just a brand new powertrain. It's still early tuning. It's the first model year of this vehicle. And I think Mazda's gonna kind of work out those kinks over time. It's this all new Mazda designed gearbox. Everything's Mazda designed here, so they have that ability to kind of fine tune it the way they want. So I can definitely expect this to get better over time, and it's not bad. Like these issues I've experienced like once over this course of a week of it happening, and I haven't really seen it again. So it may have just been like a little like kink or something. I did some kind of weird maneuver or whatever, and I haven't experienced since. I will say though, when it's operating as a full plug-in hybrid, when you have both the gas and the EV motor on, it is seamless and smooth. I'd put it right up there with Volvo's recharge plug-in hybrid powertrains, which are really good. Those are definitely a little bit more refined. I've had more time to kind of tune them to be better. But this is really fantastic. The only time I've ever experienced those issues is when I would say I'm in like kind of like a recharging mode. So I have this button here where I can use the engine to recharge the battery pack. Then I've had some weird kinks when I'm kind of switching between the EV mode because it doesn't always stay in EV mode. So in that aspect, maybe they can work on the tuning there. Otherwise, I haven't really experienced any crazy issues there that are like, wow, I would never buy this. So that's a good thing to kind of point out there. And just general driving dynamics are really, really good. Very controlled, very confident, and Mazda has implemented this new kind of what they call kinematic body control. So it's essentially using the brakes to kind of almost brake torque vector the vehicle around corners. And I have definitely noticed that actually going around corners, you can kind of feel that front end like kind of tighten in going around a corner, and you feel really confident and controlled here. And that's, I guess, really that big, wonderful aspect of this new powertrain. I'm gonna do a little bit of an acceleration test here for you guys, because this thing is quick, not fast, but it's quick. So in sport mode, this allows us to have that full boost power here. And let's there's 60. Pretty quick. Pretty decent. You can kind of hear that whir of the electric motor in the background, which is pretty interesting as well. And I have to say, off the line acceleration isn't, you know, something you're going to be really doing all the time in this car. And it's quick. It's around like 5.9-ish seconds, which is more than good enough for a passenger SUV that you're just going to be daily driving around. And at the end of the day, the purpose of this thing is fuel economy. And I'm going to just go to that fuel economy gauge for you guys. Just 1 second. Right here, we're getting 27 miles to the gallon. I've been getting 28, I've seen in some other cases, and you also get 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour on the battery pack. So Mazda splits out those different settings right there for you, which is really nice. And this is a little bit of a multifunction display here. You have your eye active sense, or a compass, as well as a little bit other information. I really like that they show a temperature for both the battery and the engine. That's really interesting. So I think Mazda, and I'm going to give them some big props here on this whole EV part of this. They really thought out what I guess I would say EV nerds want to see in this vehicle almost. And what I mean by that is that, let's make a light here. If you go into their home settings right here and you go into information, you're going to see a drive efficiency monitor. So you're going to be able to see your EV distance driven, as well as your regenerative braking energy that you've kind of recaptured. You can adjust your regenerative braking from normal to high. And look how quiet and smooth it is in EV mode. I have to say, for their first ever plug-in hybrid, it's so smooth in EV mode. And this 8-speed multi-clutch automatic is really good and smooth on its shifts when you're under load, accelerating. You know, if you're trying to drive it in a performance application, downshifting, it's not the quickest thing on the planet. I don't think it's really designed to be the quickest thing on the planet, but just in general driving, it's very smooth and very linear in its kind of transition between gears. And if you ever heard the engineers kind of discussing this system, even some more EV settings here if you guys want to check that out, really cool stuff in there. The engineers discussing this transmission, they were kind of almost describing it as like they wanted it to have those shorter lower end gears, and then have those 8th and 7th and 6th gears really be for just highway cruising, and only that, which I think was a nice way to kind of think about this transmission. And they have a lot of freedom with it since it's their own design. Now on the highway here, very quiet, right, highway cruising speeds. I do have a complaint here. This vehicle is around $58,000, right? You do not have steering assist. I don't think you can even get steering assist on this top trim plug-in hybrid model. Mazda, why? Yes, you have radar adaptive cruise control, so I'm in my cruise control screen right here. I can set my speed and I can be on with my day. I don't have to think about, you know, using the gas or the brake. It works really good. You have distance control. You also have lane departure warning, but you don't really have an assist. And there are cheaper vehicles in, like, from Subaru or a lot of other competitive brands that come with that almost standard nowadays. So that's a little bit disappointing to have Mazda not offer that on this particular vehicle. Though if you go up and step up to the inline 6 and the higher trims, that is there, and I've used it. It works. It's not the best system on the planet. It does work, but you do have to step up even higher in the kind of like the food chain of the CX-90 to get these higher end premium features. And I think that's a little bit of a disappointment. I would like to see them offer that wider, kind of like a broader span of the CX-90 lineup in the future. Hopefully that will change. Otherwise, the rest of the system works really well, and I just absolutely love these displays. They're just so crystal clear, fantastic graphics, and that also goes for the heads-up display up there, if you can see it, possibly. It's so clear. I've been in a lot of vehicles this year, and this has to be one of the crispest heads-up displays in terms of quality. It doesn't offer you the most amount of information, but in terms of display quality and crispness, it's really good. Just for a comparison, I was in the Kia Telluride, which also had a heads-up display, which displayed way more information, but it was very blurry and almost grainy in graphics. And I honestly didn't feel like I even wanted to use it because it was a little bit distracting of how the graphics just really didn't blend in well with your sight outside of the vehicle. This works better, and it's also adjustable. But yeah, guys, this is the CX-90 plug-in hybrid. Now, I just want to speak on this range and charging just a little bit as well. So I've been getting around 20-ish miles of full electric range on this thing. Now, that's kind of due to my driving style. I've been testing this hard. I've seen people and test it around up to 26 miles of electric range. Some estimates around the battery pack are saying around a 14.8 kilowatt hour pack, almost around 15 kilowatt hours. And as with a lot of these packs, Mazda will recommend you to only charge it up to around 80% if you're constantly charging it to maintain the longevity of the battery pack. So obviously you're not going to be getting that full range all the time. But nonetheless, though, it's a very nice system. And these things with these plug-in hybrids is that they're meant to be used if you live at home and you have an accessible charger. You can plug it in overnight, or if you're at your work and that has a charger, you can plug it in, and never really, theoretically, you'll never have to use that gas powertrain unless you need it for the extra range or you need to charge the plug-in hybrid system. So it works. I would say for this car, I don't think of it like that, actually, in this particular car. I think of this vehicle more as they supplement each other well, and it has that ability additionally to drive in electric mode, but I would definitely say it's not completely fully reliant on that pure electric powertrain. I think you do need to still have that gas powertrain here, especially if you want that full power, right? I can drive it purely in EV mode too, so I'm going to pop it into EV mode now for you guys, so we can have kind of an experience in just EV mode. I'm going to pop it back into the regular gauge setting here, and you can see this kind of blue display thing will pop up there as well, which is nice. And another funny thing is that Mazda's signature heartbeat turn signals are really loud in this car. You can actually adjust the volume of the turn signals in here, which is interesting to say the least. I have it in the medium setting right now. Quiet's too quiet, loud is way too loud. So now we're in pure EV mode. We have 13 miles of range. And now you have to remember, though, we're limited in power. So now we only have around, I think, 180-ish horsepower around that range, which is honestly, like, for this big vehicle, which is like 5,500 pounds, it kind of gets the job done a little bit. It's not super fast, but surprisingly, it actually can get up to speed pretty well in EV mode. Let's see how we can do with this acceleration. Let's see. Ooh. Makes an interesting noise. You really can hear that electric motor whine now. Oh, wow. So my foot is to the floor right now. And we're accelerating up to highway speeds in EV mode. And it's maxed out. Oh, wow, it's slow. Okay, it definitely takes its time in EV mode. Okay, let's go back to normal mode. I have the powertrain back in there. Okay, so EV mode, I wouldn't use it on the highway whatsoever, and that kind of goes for all plug-in hybrids. They're really not all that powerful in their pure EV modes. But now that we're back in the just regular plug-in hybrid mode, it works really well. And again, you can see your kind of regenerative braking charge in there, which is nice. It's fun to play with. And you do have paddle shifters if you need to do that, so I'll pop it into sport. See the gauges change. Yeah, it gets up and goes pretty well. Honestly, I haven't really found myself using the paddle shifters pretty much whatsoever. I don't really find them that too relevant in this vehicle. I'm excited though in the future of Mazdas. The CX-60 is coming. Oh, sorry, the CX-70 is coming to the US market, which is a shorter wheelbase version of this car with its own unique looks, and it's gonna have the same powertrains. And honestly, they're probably gonna be a little bit more refined as well. So if you really want to wait, you might want to wait for those vehicles. And I think those are gonna be really fun. With the lighter weight and a shorter wheelbase with these same powertrains, I think the kind of the dynamics and the driving experience is going to be really, really toned in here versus this longer wheelbase 8-passenger SUV. So what do I think of the CX-90 plug-in hybrid from Mazda? It's a fantastic first attempt at a premium vehicle from a real true premium vehicle on an all-new platform with all new powertrains from Mazda. A lot of manufacturers, when they go with an all-new powertrains, all new platforms, there's a lot of kinks and issues and a lot of complaints, and I wouldn't say this thing is devoid of all of them. There's definitely things that Mazda needs to work on to improve this going forward, but it's a high bar, and it really does carve out a unique niche in this segment. So, and I like to think of it as you have the Telluride on one end and the Hyundai Palisade, where you have all these cool tech features, a lot of interior storage space, but the quality really isn't there. The driving experience is completely non-existent. Then you have things like a Honda Pilot, which is really solid feeling. The tech may not really be there though. A lot of space, and the driving experience isn't really there either. It's just a generally good, just common vehicle. This thing though combines all that stuff. It has space, it has the tech, and then it brings things down from higher brands, like that driving experience, the connection with the vehicle, and it implements it into this vehicle. So it's kind of creating its own class, if you even want to think of it like that, which I think Mazda has done really fantastic with the CX-90 platform, and I'm really excited to see where it kind of spreads out into the future. If Mazda, you guys are listening to me, if you guys can work on the tuning of this plug-in hybrid powertrain just a little bit better with this gearbox, I really would be excited to see with that. And just please offer more of the luxury features just spread out throughout the lineup, like the steering assist, like the headlights not being the full nice cool LED headlights, and that goes for the taillights too. I think it's a little disappointing that they're excluding some things to be limited to the high trims. Other than that, those minor complaints that I've had no issues with this vehicle this week. Quality has been perfect, no reliability complaints. And look, if you are looking in the market for a 7 to 8 passenger vehicle right now, you have to look at these. You must look at them. I'm not going to say it's a consideration. You have to go out and look at them. There's a lot of really good incentives on these as well. It's a good vehicle from Mazda, especially if you're upgrading from a CX-9. Nonetheless, guys, thank you for joining me on this video, and as always, stay tuned for more coming from Allcarnews.